Hi, I'm Zephyr, and today I am grateful for the amazing water that is currently around me. I'm in a bit of a drought in Maine right now, but you can still find some good places if you look. And I'm also grateful for my dog here, who's just out of frame. Today I want to talk about water. We all need it. It's one of the essential pieces of being a living being on this planet, and yet humans are not very good at drinking it, at least not from wild sources. We get sick pretty easy. How do you combat that? Water's a necessity. Well, there's a lot of methods. You can bring it from home. I've seen lately a lot of people talking about the life straw. It's been around for a while. People got excited when it came out, had all these great ads showing how it could make water drinkable in areas that don't have access to clean water. And it is a very cool product, don't get me wrong, but it's not a miracle worker. It can filter out most bacteria. That's great, but there's more things than bacteria that can cause you to get sick from drinking water. So the life straw is still not a great idea, going from some sort of stagnant pool or whatever. And I see people doing that to test it out. And the fact of the matter is, get your water from the cleanest source you have available to begin with, and then filter it from there, because it's always better to start as safe as possible. There's also more expensive options. This is the MSR Guardian purifier. It's not cheap. I got a deal on it when I got mine. But it is an amazing filter. I mean, this thing can filter out bacteria, viruses, certainly particulate, and it to some degree self-cleans. That's awesome. But this guy also comes with like a $400 price tag. So not exactly the most practical option for someone who's first out, and certainly not if you are hoping to survive. So that brings us to what we're going to talk about today, which is boiling water to purify it, and where you should get the water from in the first place. So this is where I'm going to get my water. The reason I'm choosing this spot is because it's moving. It's moving about as quickly as any spot here is. I mentioned there's a drought going on right now, which means that I'm going to have the cleanest water from this spot. It hasn't been stagnant, not too much stuff can collect, and water is moving quickly. And especially if you have it churning a little bit, as this little spot is a tiny bit. It'd be great if this was a big flowing river, but right now it's a very gently flowing stream. I'm gonna just collect from the outer edges where that water is being the most churned up. Now, I'm in New England, and especially in Maine in New England, the water tends to be, well, pretty tannic, which means that it has this kind of slightly ambery, yellowy color to it. That's just because of the high amount of hemlocks and other tannic plants that grow in this area. The water is probably always going to a little bit have that color. It's not especially dangerous, even if it remains a little bit of an odd taste. But just be aware of local changes that are going to happen based on where you're getting water from. So now we've got a pot of pretty clear water, and now it's time to boil it. So now we're boiling. Now, I haven't bothered to set up a whole campfire because as much as you can do that, this on a campfire, it's a lot more work, and I'm just gonna use my little camp stove. But suffice to say, you can absolutely use a campfire, and if you're in a survival situation, that's what you're gonna use. You may not always have a pot with you when you suddenly find yourself needing to survive or boil water. That's part of the reason I like metal water bottles so much. Now, I want to note, it has to be a single-walled water bottle. That means it can't be an insulated bottle. Insulated bottles are vacuum sealed. They have two walls, and inside there is a small amount of air still trapped. That's how the insulation works. However, if you heat them up, the water inside won't heat up, but that air will. It'll expand and your bottle will explode. It's actually quite dangerous. Do not try it. But a single-walled bottle, stainless steel, titanium, even aluminum, though I tend to like to avoid aluminum, all of those can absolutely work. First, turn the stove on. Use a ferro rod. These sometimes get called flint and steel, but it's actually a iron alloy and steel, so ferrocerium is what it's called. True flint and steel, a little bit trickier, a little bit harder to do with a stove. Okay, turn that heat down a little bit. Put our little pot on. That's stable enough. And now we do the incredibly fun job of waiting. Obviously, if you want this to go faster and you want less to escape, you want to put a lid on it if you have a lid. If you're doing this on a fire, lots of ash and coal and all that stuff will, pop and burst and fall into your pot. So having a lid or something to cover it is good just to avoid a lot of ashy flavor. It's not bad for you, but, not great tasting either. Give this a few minutes, it'll be boiling, and then I'm going to show you that it absolutely is safe to drink. Or at the very least, that I'm willing to. So once your water has reached a proper rolling boil, as mine has, you're going to want to take it off the heat. Turn off my stove here. And it's going to be hot. Hopefully that's obvious, but I've burnt myself a few times without thinking. I'm going to take it off the heat and let it cool, because it has just been boiling. And once it's cooled, we're going to take a sip. Something I didn't mention before is that the point where it is safe to drink is the point where it has reached a rolling boil. That's when any virus or bacteria has been utterly killed. Don't drink it before it has reached a rolling boil, but as soon as it has reached that, you know it's safe. Might not taste great, but it's safe. I've let this cool enough. It's still a little warm, but it's drinkable. Yeah, tastes like water. Doesn't taste like the water that comes out of your tap. You can tell it came from a main river, but tastes like water. It's clean, at least clean enough, and I can stay hydrated. It's how to safely boil water for any survival scenario where you might need water and not have any of those other filtration methods around. It's effective, it's safe, and probably takes the least equipment of any of the methods out there. So there you go. Cheers.